Hey fiber friends, welcome to the For Knit Sakes channel. My name is Allison and I'm coming to you from El Paso, Texas, where I live with my husband Jonathan, my two sons Levi and Oliver, and our Boston Terrier Lucy. You are watching a podcast that is centered around knitting, crocheting, cross-stitching, sewing, a little bit of everything, or any crafts that happen to catch my fancy at the time. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping by. Subscribe and like if you like what you see. And if you are a returning viewer to the podcast, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me to hear me chit-chat about my projects and life in general. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me under For Knit Sakes on Ravelry and Instagram. And if you want to find the group that is associated to this podcast, I will have a link down in the description box, as well as if you just go to the groups tab on Ravelry, just search For Knit Sakes and you'll find me there, where you can see project pages, or no, not project pages, excuse me. You can find show notes, as well as information on the knit along that's going on, which is the Stash Bus Knit Along. It is going on until July the 1st, where all you have to do is just knit things from your stash. Your finished object has to be at least 50 grams, which can be a pair of socks or a bag or anything else. As long as it's 50 grams, it is okay for the knit along. The tab is open in the group where you can see all the finished objects that are there right now. I think there's only about 15, so get to knitting. You still have about 2.5 months left. I haven't mentioned today's date. It is Friday, April the 13th. We're not really superstitious as far as the unluckiness of April the 13th, but our son's 7th birthday is today, so Levi turned 7, and it is also our engagement anniversary. We also got engaged on Friday the 13th as well, 11 years ago, and it was after my husband's graduate recital playing for the School of the Arts in North Carolina. So we got engaged 11 years ago and we've been married for almost 10, so really exciting. So we have a lot of birthday festivities, birthday presents to open, pizza to eat. I made Levi's cake yesterday, which is the 3rd time I've made it, and it is a quinoa cake. If you haven't watched before, my youngest son has celiac disease, so we cannot use wheat flour, regular flour, oats, barley, rye, any of those things because of the gluten that is in them. So the rest of the family eats pretty much gluten-free to keep the kitchen not contaminated so our other son doesn't get sick. So I found this really great recipe using cooked quinoa, which basically it replaces the flour in the recipe, and it is delicious. So I can put that link in the description box as well as the show notes if you want to try it. It's a really easy recipe. It tastes like regular cake. It's kind of closer to a brownie consistency. It's a very fudgy cake, but it's really good. So about the knit along, I remembered to pull out the skein to show you guys from Carrie from the Creative Obsession. She sent a gold stellina skein of yarn to give away. It's called Stardust. All of my favorite colors, blue, purple. I think there's a little spattering of like orange right here. I really wanted to have the window open today, but we have wind advisory today and yesterday in El Paso. The wind is very strong. So if I can get a little clip of like the trees moving in the wind, I'll kind of pop it in here so you guys can see what it's like. And when it gets really windy, it gets really dusty. And then our allergies start going crazy. So I might be more sniffly than usual, which I know is really hard to believe. There it goes. But all of our allergies have been out of control for the last couple days, and I have forgotten to take my medicine today, so I need to make sure I take that. Let's start with the writing prompt for the episode, and the question is, were you ever involved in a school play as a student? Did you act, sing, design props, play an instrument, or hold prompt cards? And yes, I participated in many school productions. Call me a nerd if you like, but I did lighting crew for 1 year, where I actually got to use like the fancy lighting board, and I got to program different lighting settings for the play, and that year it was Oklahoma. And then after that I played in the orchestra. So I am a bassoon player. I have a music ed degree, if you didn't know already, and I played in South Pacific when I was in high school, and I think I played in something else. It's been quite a while. Well, not quite a while, but you know, more than a decade. And then when I went to college, I was only one of 3 bassoon players in the studio, so we had to split up all of the playing responsibilities at the university. And so I played in a lot of the operas and any of the other productions that they might have been putting together. Now, luckily they didn't do a whole lot. So, because I was already busy with marching band, and I didn't play bassoon in marching band, but you were required to do 2 semesters of it to get your education degree. I played sousaphone, the big gigantic tuba, for 1 year, and it's because I got paid to do it. And so I was busy with marching band and wind ensemble, and then you had to do small ensembles, and meaning like 4 or 5 players. You couldn't, it wasn't like a large ensemble. And then I was super busy when I went to college. So, and also being a resident advisor on top of that, I didn't have a whole lot of time to myself. If I were a knitter in college, I probably would have gotten much worse grades because I would have wanted to knit all the time instead of practicing or, you know, doing homework. Because doing homework for my one class I'm doing now, I struggle with a lot. And it's just a music history class. So there's your prompt. Did you guys participate in any performances when you were in high school or college, or even now? I know some people do like community theater and stuff like that. So I wish I could do it now, but having kids, it makes it a little difficult to find the time, and, you know, childcare usually, you know, John's schedule is really unpredictable sometimes, where I can schedule to do something and then last minute it changes, and then I don't have him to watch the kids. Not my kids, they're his kids too. So let's get into the knitting. I'm going to be very scattered today because I wasn't planning on taping today, but then I realized it had been a little over 2 weeks, and if I didn't do it today, then I wasn't going to get to it until next week, and we have a lot of stuff going on next week. So I will try to make it short and sweet, and I know I always say that and I go over 30 minutes, but I really am going to try this time. So finished object number 1 are my broken seed stitch socks. This is a free pattern on Ravelry where you use 2 yarns, and I mean, it's a free pattern, so I can't give anything away. So knit 1, purl 1, and then you knit a row in the second color, then purl 1, knit 1 in your first color, and then knit in your second color. Now what I did, you're supposed to do this pattern all the way down the sock, but what I did is I made a little chart to gradually take away the sides of the broken seed stitch pattern to get this triangle shape. And the 2 yarns that I used was my leftover Madeline Tosh from my Wishmaker mitts, and the striping yarn behind it, it's a little easier to see here, is Knit Picks Felici, and I think the Stone Harbor colorway. I wanted to do the light colors with the dark color because I don't know why I buy light colors for socks, because then they get dirty really quickly. But my husband actually wants to steal them from me. So I don't know if they will be in my sock drawer for much longer. And then I did a garter stitch short row heel. So I do the traditional wrap and turn. I know how to do the fish lips kiss, but I still have to look at the pattern. With this one, I can just go back and forth without thinking. This heel ends up being a lot shorter than if I were to do an afterthought heel. But if I'm doing cuff down, then I like to do my heel instead of doing an afterthought heel. Toe up, I like to do afterthought heels. And I did a slightly longer toe, well, a slightly longer colored toe, because I knit about 9 rows to get to the amount I needed for my foot before I did the decreases. And then instead of Kitchener stitch, when I got to 12 stitches on each needle, I just knit 2 together for 2 rounds. So I went from 24 to 12 to 6, and then I just pulled the yarn through the loops to finish off the sock. Because, you know, Kitchener stitch is fine and I know how to do it, but I didn't feel like doing it. I think it looks really nice though. A nice like little round toe here at the end. So I hope you guys can't hear the wind. Our air conditioning units are on the roof, which is a thing here in Texas, or in El Paso at least. A lot of the houses have their air conditioning units on the roof, but that means when it's super windy, you can hear the wind coming through the vents. So I don't know if it's coming through on the microphone, and I'm really sorry if it is. I'm surprised it doesn't keep the boys up at night, because it's upstairs when they hear it. But broken seed stitch socks, done. These were my April textured socks. I'm trying to do a patterned or a textured sock per month, and this is April's. My next finished object are Levi's socks. He wanted some tube socks to wear because his rainbow ones were a little small. So I did some new ones for him. Now these are a little baggy. They are going to fit him for quite a long time, but the toe is some leftover Regia from some socks that I did during Tour de Sock in 2016. And the purple yarn is some ice yarn that Amy so graciously sent me. And I liked how it micro striped up the sock. Now if Levi gets tired of these, I can always put it in an afterthought heel for myself because I did 56 stitches on a size 1 needle. He has big feet like I do, so at 7 years old, he can fit into my socks. They're just a little long on him. So he's gonna have big feet like me, and I might as well take advantage of making smaller socks for him while I can. So just tube socks, there's no heel. I did toe up. I think I increased for 2 or 3 rounds without a knit row in between, and then I alternated every other row. And then I think I knit like 115 rows until I got to the cuff, which I just did a 1 by 1. And then I do the stretchy bind off, that very pink knit Stacy did a video on, where you knit 2 and then you knit the 2 stitches together on the right needle. So he likes them. He wore them for a few hours and then he wanted to put them in the wash. I was like, no, I gotta show them. So I really like them. If he does get tired of them, I'm just gonna slap a heel on there and wear them myself. Or I could just wear them as tube socks. They would just be kind of short on me. Oh, so sorry about all the sniffling. So much dust gets inside of the house, even if the windows and stuff are closed. It's ridiculous here in El Paso. Now, I don't think I had this on the needles last time I talked to you guys. My walk-along tee, I have it written down, but I don't remember if I had it on the needles yet. I might have, because I think I cast it on before, yeah, the 28th. It must have been on the needles, but I finished it. So this is the walk-along tee by Anka Strick. I barely eked out enough so it would be long enough to cover. It's a little on the short side for what I like to wear. My husband always makes fun of me that I want to wear like tunic length things to not necessarily cover my whole tushy, but you know, most of it. I just like longer things. I don't like having to tug on things. So this is a little bit short, and if I feel like it's enough to bug me, I'm going to actually do what the pattern suggests. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pick up stitches along the bottom to make a kind of like a shirt underneath your shirt. I have my projects binder with all of my patterns in it. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to knit like the second set underneath, and I didn't do that yet, but I do have yarn set aside that if I decide it's a little short, I could knit like a little 1 to 2 inch thing on the bottom. Now, I did not do these rolled under pieces where you just do the stockinette stitch so it rolls naturally on the sleeves and on the neck, because I kind of liked how it fit. And I haven't trimmed this last part, so I always remember which side's the back side. But these were 2 lace weight yarns that I held double to make a fingering weight yarn, and it was dyed the same colorway. It was Touch Yarns, and I think it's a New Zealand or Australian yarn. So I had a good 938 yards, I think, if you divided, you know, the total number of yardage. And I got a short sleeve tee out of it. So I pretty much followed everything on the pattern minus the rolled part, the extra, the contrasting neck, arm, and undershirt part. And now this is a pattern you really have to check your gauge, because I'm a nerd. I'm gonna show you something that I did. I took all of my, I'll close that part. I took all of my fingering weight patterns that I either plan to knit or have knit, and I wrote the pattern, the needle size that it suggests, the gauge for the pattern, my gauge for the pattern, and then I did the body stitch count so I could compare how many stitches this one had versus this one, and then if my gauge was off and how it fits. So the walk along tee has the same gauge as the flax light pattern, 24 stitches well, at least the stitch, not the row gauge. The row gauge is a little off, I think by 2. So this one is supposed to be 24 stitches for 4 inches. My gauge is 26.5. Now, as I'm learning stitch counts and gauge information, that means my sweater fits tighter than the pattern did. So I did the math, and it actually turns out that my sweater is the bust, where it's supposed to be like almost 43 inches around. It's actually only 39.5. So, which is good. I wanted that negative ease in the bust because there's not a lot of waist shaping and hip shaping, and my bust size, bust, waist, and hips, there's a big difference. I go from 41 to 35 up to 43. So if there is a sweater that doesn't have any waist shaping, it's very boxy, and there's a huge positive ease when it gets to my waist. So I've decided now I'm going to start knitting the bust size, usually that's right underneath. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast. I'll go really quick through this. Most patterns skip from 39 inches and up to 43. I'm smack dab in the middle at 41. So, and then sometimes it goes from 40 to 44. I'm gonna start knitting the 39 and the 40s since I knit a little loose and my gauge is always, tends to be a little looser than what the gauge is in the patterns, because then I can have that negative ease in the bust, and then it's not gonna seem so baggy on my waist and my hips. So that's my little sweater critique, sweater advice. If you're constantly coming up with larger than normal garments, mine is a fit thing. I like it to fit a little tighter in the bust, so then I have less positive ease in my waist and my hips. So that's what I'm gonna do for now, I'll talk about my Zweig sweater in just a second. I haven't cast it on, but I've done a gauge swatch. So this is my last finished object for this week, and it is the Walk Along Tee by Anka Strick. I call it my Joker sweater because it has purple and green, and that's what the Joker's colors are on Batman. I love it. I'm definitely knitting another one of these in a fade from top to bottom. Just don't know which colors I want to do yet. And I think I'm going to do long sleeves instead of short sleeves. So, sorry about the long explanation for that. Ooh, little earthquake. Sorry about that. Okay, now the only work in progress I have on the needles that's worth showing, I guess, is my checkerboard throw that I'm making for my mother-in-law. Now, after working on much smaller needles for all of these projects, either a 0.1 and a 2.5, I feel like I'm knitting with tree trunks here. Because this is on a size 11 on super bulky yarn. This is Lion Brand homespun something, thick and quick. So it's super bulky and size 11 needles. So like, these things are huge. Let me find some of my ones over here. Both Chiaogus. Size 1s, size 11s. So this feels very clunky when I'm knitting, and I'm only on the 3rd out of 12 balls to knit with. I'm almost done with the 3rd, and I've gotten this far. It looks really short because I put it on a very short needle, because I found when I put it on my 47-inch cord that I was having to adjust the stitches a lot more often. So now it's on a 32-inch total. So it looks short, but if you measure from side to side on the bottom, it's like a 48-inch wide blanket. And I'm just doing pretty much basket weave. I even bailed on the seed stitch sections because my mother-in-law's not gonna notice. And I think it looks just as nice as a checkered, as a basket weave than it does with the checkered board. Like at these sections here, I think we're supposed to be knit 1, purl 1, seed stitch, and then you go back to the garter stitch here. I don't have time for that. It's a lot of like keeping track of things. I don't know if you guys can hear the wind, but it feels like the house is gonna blow over. It won't, but it feels like it. Okay. My only other work in progress is a pair of sport weight vanilla socks that I just bring with me to appointments and stuff. Not worth showing. It's maybe like this long. If you want to see it, it's in one of my Instagram pictures from Sunday. I took it out on a walk. Levi had the dog. Oliver was walking on his own, so I was able to just kind of knit while I chatted with him. We only were gone for maybe 20 minutes or so. Your kids want to run around like wild monkeys on the inside of the house. And then as soon as you go to take them on a walk, they say, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. This is too long. I was like, you run around for like 30 to 40 minutes inside without taking a break. But we tried to go on a 15-minute walk and it's like you're dying. If anybody else has kids and can relate to that, please comment below. So tired. Okay. I can finally cast on my Zweig tomorrow. I have my little yarn mountain here of like all my sweater projects, and my Zweig is back here holding up my little alpaca and my little goat, sheep. He's not a goat. But I swatched for my Zweig. It's really hard to get the colors because it's so dark. This is Hawthorne in Goddess. I ordered Hawthorne, all the sock yarn was on sale on Knit Picks at the end of April. So I knit a swatch on the suggested needle size, and this yarn grows like no other. And instead of having 24 stitches for 4 inches, I had 21 for 4 inches, or 21 and a half. So I'm going to go down a needle size, and I'm going to knit the 40-inch bust instead of the 44-inch bust. Because there is no waist shaping, I want less positive ease around my waist. So I want it to fit a little tighter on the chest, which is where the lace section is anyways. And I might go up a needle size for the lace. I'm not really quite sure. I like to play it dangerously. So, but I really like how the color looks. It's purple again. Pretty much every single project I've shown you today is purple, minus the socks and the throw, but I didn't pick that yarn. But I think it's gonna look really pretty. I've decided I am not going to do the cable detail on the body. I really think the yarn is really pretty without it. So I decided I'm not gonna do the cabling. So I'm just gonna knit stockinette for the body and on the sleeves. But I'm really excited to start it. My yarn right here is from the Creative Obsession. This is a one-of-a-kind skein that I got in the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted. And then I have 4 cakes of Hawthorne, which I should have more than enough. In fact, I might have enough that I could probably make some socks when I'm done. We'll see. So I can cast that on tomorrow. I have been waiting to cast it on. Woolberry Fiber Company is hosting a knit along for a Zweig along, I guess. And there's no whips allowed, so I've had to wait. And I didn't want to cast on any more sweaters because I don't want to work on 2 garments at the same time. Even though I'm sure I could, I like to have like 1 sweater on the needles. A few pairs of socks are fine because they're usually vanilla socks, or the pattern socks are relatively simple. But so I've just been working on the throw, and it's something I'm not excited to work on. I just do it to do it. And I'm a little over it, to be honest, but that's okay. In the meantime, I've been organizing all of my socks for the rest of the year. I have everything planned through October. Next month are monkey socks by Cookie A, and I'm going to do them in a self-striping. This is Sonoma Sunset, I think, Knit Picks Felici, and I've already wound them and cut so that they would be matching socks, but I'm not going to start those till May 1st. And I've been keeping all of my patterns here in my, this is a dollar store binder, to be honest. And so I have all my patterns in page protectors. So I'm gonna do a Zweig. I have yarn for a pavement, another flax light maybe another walk along, probably definitely another walk along. This is the Rock Creek by Caitlin Hunter. This is Downriver. This is a cowl. It's in my list of cowls, but I'm not really into cowls since I can't really wear them, although pretty much all the sweaters I'm going to knit, I'm not going to be able to wear until the fall. And I have some of my sock patterns. And then I bought a new pattern yesterday by Mary Annarella, which is, I'm pretty sure, Lyrical Knits. Hold on, sorry. The little one wants a snack. That always happens while I'm taping. So I bought this short sleeve tee pattern by Mary Annarella, Lyrical Knits, and it's the Heart of Glass pattern. This is my old school iPhone. So it's a pretty simple, you can do it sleeveless, you can do it 3/4 length, you can do it full length, with this really pretty lace pattern on the bottom. So I have plans to knit that. I'm probably gonna do it as a fade. and that's going to go into my stash enhancement. I bought Jonathan some new slippers. He's had the same UGG slippers for almost a decade. We bought them in 2009, and I found a pair on 6pm.com. It's a last chance website where I guess places that have only a couple, like a handful of extras, send them to this website to send out. So they were almost half price. And so then he was like, well, order yourself some yarn, because I said that his slippers were an early Father's Day gift. So he said I could order some yarn for an early Mother's Day gift. Now what I did like a few days earlier was order some yarn to go with a sweater. So I ordered yarn just because I wanted it. Let's be honest. And I wanted a sock blank. And I love Carrie's yarn. So I ordered some yarn from the Creative Obsession. Sorry, that's my husband. I get text messages on my old and my new phone. So I ordered this sock blank called Wham Bam. All I can think of is Wham. It's like, wake me up before you go. So I ordered this. These are going to become a pair of socks at some point. I don't know if I'll just do plain vanilla or if I'll do something simple like Hermione's Everyday. But I love it. Purple, green, pink, orange, yellow. It's amazing. We also usually tie-dye a lot of stuff. Every year I take the boys like old grungy undershirts, the Hanes shirts that I usually buy, and I tie-dye them. And then I needed to add something else to my order. So this is Out to Pasture. So it's got some nice little greens, browns, little yellow. I was going to use this in a fade, but it doesn't quite go with the yarn that I was planning on using it with. So now it's kind of sitting. I'm not really quite sure what I want to do with it. And then when John told me to order more yarn, Carrie was having a sale. And I got Spring Fling, purples, blues, a little bit of yellow. And this is going in a fade with some yarns over here. Let me pull them out. I don't think I posted about these online. They are going to go with my Evil Little Goat skein. And remember this yarn that somehow dissolved into like 12 different balls of yarn? I'm gonna do this. So top to bottom. I think this is gonna be my walk along, but I'm not sure when I'm gonna knit it. So this is, like I said, Spring Fling. Like this is just a lighter version of the Evil Little Goat skein. You can see the colors are really similar. And like this kind of has more of a gray undertone, a little less white space in the skein, but it's all pretty much the same colors. So I think they'll fade pretty well together. And then I ordered Poolside. And this is what I wanted to order to go into another fade with another Evil Little Goat yarn. And it was gonna go with a Perrette and Vola yarn, but I decided the yellow doesn't quite go with it, and that's what's over here. Sorry, they're all caked up and not in the skein. When I want to de-stress, I cake yarn, and it's been a very stressful week for life in general. So all of these are caked. So this is an Evil Little Goat. This is a B-side yarn that I got in a surprise grab bag. You paid 60 bucks and she sent you 3 skeins of yarn. So that was this one and the one that I just showed. So I think I want to do, if I can eke out a Heart of Glass using just these 2 skeins, I'm going to do it. Because I think this would be really pretty with the lace on the bottom, because it's a really pretty tonal with some, is there speckling? There's like maybe some speckles in there. Like you can see like little bits and pieces of it. But these are definitely colors that I would wear. And I think they would look really pretty together faded. That wind. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's bananas outside. So I don't know, I might have to come up with another color. There's some purple and pink. There's a little bit of green. I don't know, because the pattern, I think I would be cutting it super duper close for doing the short sleeve. I don't know. Because I was originally going to do it with this, but I don't think the yellow goes with it. I don't know, what do you think? Comment down below. I think it's like just a little off. Like these two look really pretty, and when you add this one in, you're like, not so much. Let's put it in the sun. like if it was a little less yellow maybe, or if the yellow was brighter maybe, but I don't think there's enough yellow in this one to go with it. Like you can see there's a little bit of yellow. I don't know. Yes, no? I might do a little poll on Instagram too. I don't know. I just messed up all my yarn tower. Let's put all that back. So those are a couple sweaters that I have planned. I have a lot more in my head of things that I want to do. I'm trying to knit new patterns instead of knitting old patterns, just because it keeps things fresh, and I might not get as bored with them. But I do really like the walk along tee because I like the big wide raglan panels. I can show you. It's a little hard to see with the color. There you can see it. See this really wide panel right here? Try to get the light. Oh no, I can't do it now. There we go. See that big wide panel that's like right there? I like the way that that looks as opposed to like the flax light. It's nice. It's a little harder to keep track of when you're knitting it, but I really like it a lot. So I think I've kept this episode relatively short. I have a lot of stuff in my head. I've gone to sleep dreaming of sweaters, which I know is might be normal in the knitting world, but my husband thinks I have lost it, because all I just think about is like, oh, this yarn would look really pretty with this yarn, and this yarn would look great with this yarn. I'm also doing some swatches to try to design some fun socks for myself. I've been using my knitting stitches book that my friend Meg got me a while back because I want to try to do something new, but I'm not anywhere close to being a designer, but it's fun. I kind of want to do a morning mist but change the lace panel on the back, but I feel like I'm pretty good with the math in my head, but we'll have to see. So that is all I have for the knitting content for this week. I don't think I have anything else to share in regards to using 2 sticks to make fabric. So if you're just here for the knitting content and you don't want to hang out and hear about what's going on with our lives, you know, as exciting as it is, then I will definitely see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to hang out, then hang out. Stay tuned. I'm gonna drink some water and then I'll fill you in on what's going on with us. Okay, as I said, today is my son's 7th birthday. We have all of his gifts ready. We got him a little mini waterproof camera because I am planning on going to the splash pads a lot here in El Paso. I think there's like 10 of them. So we want to go check all of those out, and we got him a new swimsuit. And I got a little book on how to draw animals. He's been really interested on like the step-by-steps of how to draw things, and we have a few of those books already, but I wanted to get him a few more, or one more, I guess. And his other gifts from his grandparents and other family members are waiting. I'm not quite sure what everybody else got him, but we'll find out when he opens them. And getting ready for that hasn't been super difficult. We've been running a lot of errands. Oliver had to get caught up on some shots the other day because he's being registered for preschool next week. When did my kids grow up? So Oliver's gonna register for preschool next Wednesday, and then the week after that, I'm getting my foot looked at. If you didn't listen to the last episode, I have an issue with my right foot. They think it's called a neuroma, which basically the tissue surrounding your nerves hardens and makes those nerves more sensitive. So when it flares, I have like shooting pain through my 2 middle toes. So, but I've been doing what I'm supposed to. I wear comfortable shoes. I haven't worn high heels in years, so that's not an issue. But hopefully they can do something to help fix that, because I like to walk. I like to be somewhat active, and I can't be active when my foot hurts, unfortunately. So hopefully they'll figure that out. And we're still waiting to hear about some jobs that my husband applied for at the School of Music. Yesterday was the due date for those jobs, and they said anywhere from 2 weeks to maybe even 3 to 4 to hear if he gets any of them. He applied for multiple positions there. If he does, that means we will be moving again. So we'll see. If we do have to move back, that's not going to be a fun drive to get from El Paso to Norfolk, Virginia. That's quite a long drive. and we have to drive because we have 2 vehicles and a dog. Can't fly. That's okay. We can make it a fun road trip, visit really cool places between here and there. But other than that, we've just been staying alive and doing things that we need to do. I went to Knitting Guild this last week and checked out some books, hung out with some really cool ladies. We're doing like a master class with the Knitting Fairy the first week of May. So there might be one more podcast before that happens, and then I can share what we did in that podcast. But I always feel when I get to this point, I'm like, man, we really haven't done a whole lot in the last 2 weeks. But, you know, when you're a stay-at-home mom who knits a lot, like, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I keep the kids alive, I teach them things, make sure Levi does his homework, you know, keep the house somewhat not looking like a wreck, and a lot of cooking, because Oliver has celiac disease, which Celiac Awareness Month is the month of April. If you have any questions about celiac, please feel free to put them down below, but don't feel like you have to. We cook a lot at home. There's really only one safe place to eat, and that's Chick-fil-A, because they have their grilled nuggets, the seasoning is gluten-free, and the fries they fry in separate fryers than the fried chicken nuggets. So it's really the only place that he can safely eat out at where he would eat. Like, we could probably go to a restaurant if he would eat meat of some sort, if they could like scrape the grill super duper clean or cook it in foil or something, but I'm not gonna spend $10 on a steak if he's not gonna eat it, and that's a cheap steak. But so we cook a lot at home, and so I'm constantly cleaning the kitchen, and I'm constantly baking things, trying to find good recipes that he likes, and so on and so forth. It's been like a year and a half. His 2-year anniversary of him going in the hospital is early July, so I always get a little sad around that time of year, but, you know, real talk. But I think that's pretty much all that's going on with our lives. I don't think there's much else to talk about, and I wanted to keep this episode relatively short, so I hope I didn't talk too fast. Again, if you want to see the show notes for all the projects that I'm working on, and I'll post that birthday cake recipe down below if you want to check it out, because it's really good. If you want to try something alternate to cooking with regular flour, I would highly suggest it. I'll put all that stuff down below, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Keep your needles moving and keep on smiling. Every day is a good day. We're trying over here, so bye.